dive into authentic conversations about ourselves and our community, exploring topics that uplift and inspire us. From personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation.
being clear, I can't with you every time you get upset.
The jury heard that on Friday. As the prosecutor, what are you hoping they take away from that?
You better get on your job. You better get on your job. And you know what that job was? For her to be a sex worker. That was her job. So here you have it coming out of the mouth of Sean Combs, where he's telling her, just how I get on my job, you get on your job. So when I snap my fingers, perform.
I think that would make more sense for Cassie, because Cassie was the only alleged victim here that said this was like a job. I haven't heard that language from Jane, so I don't think I would stretch it that far. I think if you're the defense, what you want this to look like is love me or leave me. Like, if you're going to be a part of my life in a relationship, then sure. But if you're going to get mad at me, I'm going to keep doing my thing. I'm going to keep doing my job. Because he's talking about her job, but also his job. His
job was paying to $10,000 a month, paying for her expenses, paying for the roof over her head. So he's saying, I'll disappear. So I'll disappear. Guess what? You're going to disappear out the apartment that I have you in, that I'm paying the rent for.
I think that's a great argument. No one's testified to that. And I think on summation, yeah, go ahead and make that argument.
It's for summation.
The defense is going to make an argument of, you've all heard this before. This is when you're tired of arguing with your lover, your spouse, your significant other, and you say, let's just move our separate ways or try to make this work. It's not something nefarious. They're going to paint it in a different light.
And Jane testified she was frustrated with the relationship with Combs, especially when she compared it to other women. Let's listen to another recording that was played on Friday.
Yeah, that's my friend. I'm in Miami. I don't have a lot of friends out here, okay? She asked me if she could work out with me. I said, okay. You got to believe what you want. It's the last time you go and cursing at me, disrespecting me over nothing. Like, I'm a human being. I'm not going to lock myself up in a room and have no friends. I don't have a bunch of guy friends. I already told you that. And she just came over to work out. Like, but I'm not going to be explaining. It don't matter if I just got finished day. I'm single. I could do whatever I want to, but I didn't. You're straight flipping out on me. And I told you that you had one more time to do this. Flipping out on me because somebody came to work out with me at my house. You're nuts. So be sad, go crazy, do whatever you want to do. Okay, I don't deserve you. I don't deserve being honest with somebody. And then every time they see somebody around, they like, I'm doing something, working out.
Brian, listening to that, what's your reaction to that message?
So as a defense attorney, okay, we're going to try to spin that as she's jealous. She's looking at his social media. He said in other comments that there's an open relationship. He's saying here that he's single. Now, maybe as a guy, he trifling. Like, he's gaslighting her. He's doing all the things a horrible guy friend, boyfriend will do. But both sides, as a guy and a defense attorney, none of those are criminal. He's a shady, horrible person. But you spin it both ways of, he's treating a woman poorly, or this isn't a crime.
Bernarda?
So here as prosecution, like, I will argue the power that he had over her. So, but also in addition to that, Eva, what I'm trying to do is I'm putting your words out there. So I'm going to be able to argue it the way I want to argue it. So are you going to get up on the stand and try to explain something different? Because you're going to be confined to the words that are in that recording. So the jury is hearing from the defendant, from his own words, from text messages, from videos, from audio recordings, from recordings on voicemails.
But let's do this. You've been both a prosecutor, defense attorney, and dated in this world. Which one of those conversations does that sound more familiar to as? As someone who's dated maybe or heard of a horrible guy, or of a criminal? Like, what is that more familiar to as?
Well, the thing is, you have to read all of it. You have to take everything.
When you listen,
you have to look at the full picture.
Voice memos, which side do you think it helps the most?
Well, the prosecution, because when you combine it with that she's on the stand, and remember, I'm in a main courtroom where she's testifying, she is talking so softly. She refuses to look up, even at the person that is asking her the questions, and she is crying like every 5 minutes. So when you combine him talking so aggressively to her in these voicemails, like, to us, it'd be like, nah, you ain't talking to me like that. But to a person that the jury is seeing, it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah, but they also heard that she started physical fights, smashed his head into a marble counter, punched him, threw wax and hot oil at him.
But
they heard that as well, so she's capable of that as well. And here's a guy saying, you saw me on social media with another woman. Let's not get crazy about this. I'm single. I can do what I want, but I'm telling you the truth. Again, that doesn't sound criminal. I think that rings truer in people's ear as something they've heard before of a trifling man.
But also, they're not looking at that testimony singularly. They're looking at the entire case. They're looking at the Cassie video. So they're listening to everything.
We got to go. But I appreciate the trifling man comment. Brian, Bernardo, thank you both. Coming up, week 5, but what are people and terms being searched for on the internet? We go through some of them when we come back. Welcome back to Burden of Proof, the case against Diddy. It's time now to take a look at some of the day's top online searches surrounding this high-profile criminal trial. The searches range from what does Diddy look like now to what is love bombing. ABC News contributor Kelly Carter joins us now from Los Angeles. She covers entertainment and pop culture for us. Let's get right to it then. That's an interesting search that we're hearing about. What does Diddy look like now?
Yeah, I think people want to know that because all we're seeing are the courtroom sketches. I think in most cases, with the exception of the anonymous witnesses, we get to see what they actually look like in person, do a compare contrast. That's impossible right now. No cameras in the courtroom. So
then there are people who are searching what is love bombing.
Love bombing, it's the bane of every woman's existence, I think. But really, it is a manipulative tactic that also is a form of emotional abuse. You know, someone kind of showering you with love to get you to do what they want you to do, essentially is what love bombing is.
Kelly Carter, always so lovely to talk to you. Thank you. And thank you for joining us. We'll be back with new episodes every day of the trial. The show streams right here on ABC.
All right, so we're getting into everything Diddy tonight. Y'all, if you heard me smacking, I was smacking on some potato chips. Grab your snack, get right back with your teacup up, ready to continue to be filled by the Diddy trial, day 15 to current. We have got a lot of shit going on, y'all. We have got activated snitches and a whole lot of exposed testifying nymphomaniacs. Y'all, what is going on? Oh my God. So what do y'all think about the Jane Doe? Okay. I mean, I think she's just a little bit of a watered down Cassie. From what we've heard, she could be just as activated as Cassie was, you know, in her time she spent with Diddy. So far, we haven't gotten much, but we're going to keep on with up-to-date stuff about Diddy, okay? Okay.
Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show. Now let's get to the latest on the federal sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs. A Diddy girlfriend, the latest, using the pseudonym Jane, was back to stand today. She described the drug-fueled sexual parties called hotel nights she endured during her relationship with Sean Diddy Combs. Jane says she felt pressure to have sex with other men. She also broke down and sobbed as she recalled getting to spend time alone with Combs afterwards. And just yesterday,
I don't know why. But when you come in, lift your teacups up. We're sipping some tea from Stephen A. Smith. We already got
judge threatened to
our
exclude Combs from court if he kept trying to interact with the jury. Combs was seen nodding in the jury's direction during the testimony of a woman who said Combs dangled her over a balcony railing in 2016. During that testimony, it was revealed that Combs was actually in New York during the Bad Boy reunion tour at the time she claimed the incident happened. Joining me to discuss the latest in the Diddy trials is one of the best legal minds in America, as far as I'm concerned. a legal analyst extraordinaire for ABC News, obviously hosts Sports Center on ESPN as well. My buddy, the one and only Ryan Smith. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, man. Good to talk to you. How you doing?
Let's get right to it. I'm good, man. It's just that it's just crazy to me, all of this Diddy stuff. We just keep hearing more and more stuff. It's hard to listen to be honest with you. But what do you make of the testimony of the witness who says she was dangled over the balcony of her apartment? How incriminating is that again?
Yeah, Vanna, that's really important for the prosecution's case. Why? Even though she wasn't somebody who said she was assaulted by him sexually, this shows the violent tendencies that the prosecution is saying Diddy has. That this is what women were afraid of. That this is why he had this threat of violence held over people. Because when you look at it from the prosecution's eyes, if he could dangle somebody off a balcony, imagine what he might have threatened to do to Cassie if she didn't engage in the freak-offs, or to Jane with what she's talking about with the hotel nights. Showing that and showing what happened for the prosecution is like saying this is how dangerous this man is.
When the judge threatened to remove him and exclude him from trial because he thought his facial expressions and what have you were influencing the jury, how big of a deal is that, if it is a big deal at all?
Yeah, I think that's huge. Because if the jury walks in one day and they don't see Diddy there, they wonder why. And they can't necessarily be told why, or the judge will give them an instruction but won't maybe not tell them all the details. But it goes to, if you're on that jury, you're thinking, wait, why is there a change here? And any change, I think, in this case involving Diddy is bad for the defense. So with Diddy, the accusation is that he's nodding to the jury. And here's the thing. When you're a defendant, you cannot interact with the jury. Why? Because that makes it seem like you're trying to influence them in some way. Here's Diddy with this power. People know him. They know of him. And if he's looking straight at you, juror number 12, and he's nodding, don't believe that. I'm not saying I know that he did that per se, but when you talk about nodding for judges and for courtroom watchers, that's somebody trying to send an indication to somebody on the jury saying, believe this or don't believe this, which could influence their decision. So in a way, the judge has to clamp down on that immediately.
But damn, Ryan, I mean, he got to sit there for weeks. He can't smile, he can't smirk, he can't nod his head. I mean, for weeks at a time. Isn't that an impossible task to expect from a defendant, where you can't have any kind of bodily communication whatsoever, affirming or denying anything? Is that not a bit unreasonable?
It's reasonable to be able to have a reaction to things, but to be turning to the jury and reacting to them is borderline influencing them. And that's the last thing you want. You want these jurors to be able to make any decision they want to make based on the evidence they're hearing, not based on the defendant looking at them, telling them, believe that, don't believe that. The thing here is, Stephen A., we don't know exactly what he was doing in that courtroom. If he's turning and nodding and making indications to them, that's off limits. You can't do that. And before trial, his defense team would have told him, hey, you can't make statements or do things to the jury or have loud outbursts, because they know that the judge will clamp down, because the judge doesn't want the jury being influenced. But having reactions, being upset or being mad or crying or scribbling a note to your lawyer, that kind of stuff is affected. Keep that, though, away from turning to the jury and trying to send an indication to them. And again, we don't know what Diddy was actually doing in that courtroom or what he might have been trying to do, but the judge has to look at that and say, any way in which you're reacting, turning to them and making a motion is potentially trying to say to them, don't believe this, believe that, and possibly influencing their decision. You can't have that.
My next question is going to be, just as a treat to throw out to Diddy supporters out there, because just like R. Kelly had his supporters, Diddy's got his, and you have a lot of people that's been listening to you and others talk about what's going on during this trial, reporting accurately on what's actually transpiring in the courtroom and in the case itself. It says, damn, everybody's pointing the finger at Diddy. I mean, what about these other witnesses? What are they saying? How did we know they're telling the truth? Et cetera, et cetera. I'll give you the latest example. Diddy's defense team proved that Diddy wasn't there. The defense actually provided receipts and asked the woman if he could be in two places at once they proved that he wasn't even in attendance at the time that she said this ordeal happened with them. And when they asked her that question, she said theoretically. I mean, what does that mean? How incriminating is that against her?
Yeah, that damages her testimony completely. He can't be in two places at once. And the defense even said that. Can he be in LA and be in New York at the same time? No. And that kind of opens and shuts the door on her. So that is huge. for the defense. That's a big thing for the defense. And you have to believe the jurors, whether they think she outright made that up, or they think, hey, your story's got to be dubious. Maybe you had your dates different. Something doesn't add up here. You never want a witness on the stand saying one thing happened and then the other team getting up and saying, well, I can prove he was somewhere else. So, yes, it's damaging for prosecutors. But here's the thing. She was there to offer testimony about how he uses violence to intimidate people. Other people have offered that evidence. So for Diddy supporters out there who might say, hey, well, this is proof that he was never violent. I don't know if it's proof that he was never violent. I think maybe it's proof that he wasn't violent in the way this person described on that date. But Diddy still has a whole lot of things to push back on to say that he didn't use threats and coercion to get people to do the things he wanted them to do.
Today, the jury heard from Jane is her name, who testified that Combs threatened to stop paying for her apartment if she didn't continue the hotel nights, sleeping with other men for his pleasure. However, it was revealed, like you said, that Combs was going to break up with her, and she continued with the hotel nights. What do you make of that? She's going to break up with her, but she continued with the hotel nights anyway. Does that help his case at all?
It does in some ways, but it also helps the prosecution. Let me back up for everybody who hears Jane's testimony and starts reading it. What is important for prosecutors to prove here is a RICO conspiracy. That's a pattern that's basically saying, in a nutshell, that Diddy is either assisting in or operating this sort of criminal enterprise, that other people are involved, and it's this pattern of criminal activity. Now, I want people to hang on to the word pattern. We saw Cassie up there for days talking about what he did with her. He started dating her. They start going out. He offers her the recording contract. They start working together. And then he starts engaging her in these freak-offs, according to her, and starts using these threats and coercion, according to her, in terms of, hey, you got to keep doing this or I'm going to take things away. Now we see Jane talking about the same thing. Stephen A., this is why I believe Jane's testimony is some of the most impactful testimony we're going to see in this trial. Because she now is talking about exactly what Cassie was talking about, which makes it a pattern. So I know that people are going to say, well, look, she could have withdrawn herself from the freak-offs. But look at what she's saying as to why. She's saying, well, he started dating me, and then we had this relationship. Then part of the relationship became these other things that I had to do, these hotel nights. And then he would say, well, I'm going to take, according to her, I'm going to take this housing away. I'm going to take these things away. It's the same kind of thing. It's a pattern. And in a way, it requires jurors to look at this and say, these women were in a position where they didn't feel like they had a way out. And Stephen, let me touch on one other thing related to this. I think 20, 30 years ago, we might look at this case and say, well, why didn't someone just leave? Now we tend to look at these cases differently. We look at cases like R. Kelly and we see grooming. We see how people are conditioned into certain behavior, and then they start feeling like they can't leave situations. That's the case the prosecution is trying to build here. They're trying to show that Diddy is a person who strings people along, gets them in these relationships, gives them things, and then gets them in a situation that they feel they can't get out of, either by violence or coercion, financially or otherwise, and puts them in this untenable situation.
So is it possible, before I let you get on out of here, that the real thing that's incriminating with him is the age of these ladies at the time he started their relationships with them? I'm guessing that based on what you alluded to in terms of how society was in the past, they would say it was consensual. Why could you just walk away from this situation? And then you bring in the grooming element. Well, if you're somebody in your 30s or your 40s, somebody might not want to hear that. But if you're somebody in your teens and you started dating this gentleman, then obviously you're going to be perceived as being a bit more vulnerable. And as a result, he's going to be the person in a position of power who manipulated that power to take advantage of you. Is that a good way of, basically drawing a synopsis of all of this and really crystallizing this for the viewers out there?
I think it's part of it, but I don't think it's all of it. I think the fact that they were younger women may have made them a little bit more susceptible to his influence. I think his power dynamic plays into part of this, that a woman who's older could have also been swept into this power dynamic. And I think the way he conducted himself, at least according to the prosecution. But make no mistake, Stephen A., as you watch these people testify, like Jane, when she's talking about he had me take drugs across from LA to Miami. Now they're building the case of drug trafficking. When he talks about having her And then her later calling people, escorts, to come in from different places to do these hotel nights. Now we're talking about the sex trafficking element. What you're seeing here, when I talk about grooming, I'm talking about his MO, and they're trying to describe how he did this. But I think age, while being a part of it, is not all of it. I think what it is they're trying to describe how he got his hands into them, and then in their mind, put them in a position where they couldn't get out. And that's how they're trying to build the RICO case, the sex trafficking case, the drug trafficking case. All of it is all based on him and his associates getting these people in a world that they couldn't get out of. And age is a part of that, but I don't think it's all of it.
Last question. We've seen so much and we hear so much, and it just appears to be getting more and more incriminating for Sean Diddy Combs by the day. But that's through the lens of the prosecution. When are we going to start seeing things through the lens of the defense team?
I think it's going to be at least a week. I think you can expect Jane to be on the stand for another couple days. And when you talk about the lens of the defense team, just like we saw with Cassie, we saw Cassie getting grilled on the stand by the defense. We heard about Mia getting grilled on the stand by the defense. It's going to be the same with Jane, because Jane has a lot of text messages going back and forth talking about their relationship. Jane talks about how she, over time, started booking the escorts herself. According to her, that was so she could control, at least know, the men that she would be kind of coerced into engaging in these hotel nights with. The defense is going to turn that, and they're going to say, look, but you're calling these experts. You're saying, are we doing this? And you can't later come back and say it was non-consensual because you were in this relationship with him for 3 years. As you said, Stephen, why didn't she get out? They're going to be questions like that the defense is going to press on, and they're going to press hard because the defense knows what's getting out there. The impression that Sean Diddy Combs controls these people, that he has a whole pattern of doing these things, that he uses all these associates to do these things, and that's the RICO conspiracy. They have to knock that down by essentially hitting on one key point. All of this was consensual, that he strongly denies all of this, and that all of this was what the women wanted to do and wanted to do with him. So the defense is going to get that chance when they cross-examine her. And I would say if that doesn't happen today, it's going to happen early next week, but it's going to be aggressive. It's going to be strong because that's exactly what they did with Cassie.
All right. That was another side to understanding more of the Diddy trial. Okay, thank you, Stephen A. Smith, for that update. We are cruising on down through the Diddy stuff. So let's find some more stuff going on in the Diddy trial. More perspective, more revelations, who's saying what, you know, who is speculating the outcome of what's going on currently. Do you guys think the prosecutors are making their case against Diddy? I'm hearing some things, right, that could tie into some low-level ends of stuff. Like, okay, he brought drugs. He gave me a pill. He had me transport, you know, a amount used for consumption, not distribution. And you see what I'm saying? So, like, with that being said, like I said in the thumbnail, is this a state case, or is Diddy in the right court? Is this for a state to try to, you know, should have tried to prosecute Diddy in, or is he in the right, you know what I'm saying, courtroom as far as like the case goes? He's in the feds right now. So let's keep on keeping on. Let's read some of the comments, actually. Some people are saying, bruh, witness Jane was in her early 30s when she started dating Diddy, and she was already getting $7,000 a month for her baby daddy. This woman know what she was getting into. She didn't want to give up that $10,000 a month Diddy was paying her. Even now, he is still paying her rent. She is not a victim. Says, make it make sense, 757. Okay. Day Nurse 80 replies to make it make sense, saying, you think money is a good excuse to beat a woman, bro? You're ward. Okay. Plus, he told her from the jump, says Monica M3738, what was he going to be? What it was going to be. And Diddy is still paying her rent. She thought this was more than what it was. She was his kept freak. Morally, he guilt trips her to participating, but it's not a crime. Plus, Vanna was caught lying about the balcony incident. So that would be the Cassie. That's where Diddy's trying to get the trial, going to mistrial, however have you. Okay. She told Diddy, I don't want to do it anymore. He told her, okay, I'm going to pay your rent for the next 3 months and then it's over. Because I'm not going to keep paying your rent if we're not together. She could have said, okay, and got a job. Instead, Diddy is still paying her rent to this day. She's not a victim, says Day Nurse 80. Facts, says Dave Curry, 3153. And then I was going to also spill some tea on that as well. So, like, as far as, you know what I'm saying, like, her being a baby mama, you see what I'm saying? It's like, my goodness gracious, you see what I'm saying? All of this salacious, nymphomaniac, actorial freak acts that are occurring, you know what I'm saying, between Diddy, like, where are the kids at? I'm wondering, is this 50 Cent's baby mama? Like, remember 50 Cent's baby mama was tied into doing some freak off things with Diddy. I'm wondering who this Jane Doe is. Do y'all think it's 50 Cent's baby mama? I don't know. Okay. But we do know of her having one child, and then, you know, Diddy and 50 Cent, of course, having their feud, you know, their hate for each other. And she testified that Diddy would like talk about her baby daddy being a rapper. You see what I'm saying? Is the Jane Doe that's testifying right now, is it 50 Cent's baby mama? Okay. I'm just, spilling that tea. So let's keep on reading the comments. I think Diddy was too afraid of what 50 might do if he heard he was beating on his baby mama. Thank you. Like, I'm thinking that this is 50 Cent's baby mama that's testifying right now. That's the Jane Doe right now. Even though she will be back on the stand Monday, so we probably hear something about violence towards her. You see what I'm saying? Like, why would he be talking about her rapper baby daddy she got one baby with, which could potentially be 50 Cent? Okay. So let's keep it going. And do you hear the way that, my goodness gracious, Diddy, if this is 50 Cent's baby mama, was somewhere just freak nastying with her, having her sleep with 3, 4, 5 different men a night for Diddy just to pay her $10,000 rent. Like, that is crazy to even think was something that unfortunately 50 Cent's baby mama was, doing to keep a roof over her and 50 Cent's child's head. Right? Because didn't 50 Cent say, have a baby with me and I'll make you a millionaire, or some shit he was saying in the song, right? So one would come to wonder why she would need to sleep with 4 or 5 different men a night just to keep a roof over her and 50 Cent's son's head. That is wild. More comments. So you're just repeating what you heard everyone else say. If Diddy is so dangerous, then why would he be afraid of what 50 might do? Like I said, so far we have yet to hear that Diddy was beating on Daphne, even if he was doing so. She had to do was leave like she came. Okay, that can make sense. Says, actually, in the court filing, they do document a time when Diddy was violent with Jane. I'm sure we will hear about it on Tuesday. Michael Parker 2678 says, instead of constantly going after Diddy and his defense team, Ryan Smith needs to go after his legally barber for giving him that egregious haircut. I cannot stand them. Okay. Y'all worry about him nodding at the jury. Where's the RICO evidence? Right. Says Fresh No Designer 1982. Shout out to 1982. Gregory email 1 says, damn, I know this is about Diddy, but his barber did him so wrong. They get on my nerves. Okay. A couple more comments. We're going to get back into some Diddy watching. Okay. Whatever happened to personal responsibility? These women could have left at any time and just left Diddy alone. But no, they wanted him to continue paying their bills and keeping up their lifestyle. I don't need to hear any more testimony. So, I mean, I understand how they are wanting everybody to take it into account of how You know, battered women syndrome can, you know, consist of a lot of different ways that a man can control a woman, like where she can be in like, okay, you guys know how you can be scared of something and it'll leave you in like a fear, you know, panic stricken. Like if you watch something scary and you're stuck and you're like, oh my God, I'm scared to move type situation. I mean, I can understand how they are wanting the jury and, you know, the public opinion, us to, you know, take it in and understand, especially if you have ever been a victim of any type of abuse in any way. You see what I'm saying? What were your reasons why you allowed that abuse to happen for longer than the second that it occurred in? You see what I'm saying? For whatever reason you stayed over a second after the abuse occurred, there are a lot of reasons. You know, women, anybody can be necessarily scared from any point of time of life where, you know what I'm saying, if you're not the person that is actually going out and bringing back the bacon, and you know, you don't necessarily understand exactly where, when you step out on faith, if you step out without the person that's feeding you, how you're going to acquire your next meal, that can prevent you from wanting to step out on your own, right? So if Diddy's paying their bills, and I don't know, you know, what type of women that they are personally. I'm listening to them, you know, theoretically, how, you know, they were living their lifestyles. A lot of it does seem like, you know, they wanted the luxurious end of the lifestyle. You know, with Diddy, they didn't want to go, you know, have to be on Section 8 or low income, or have to try to find, you know, a way to survive, have a roof over their head, and, you know what I mean, go work at a diner or something. They wanted to take the way, or chose, however you looking at this, right, for Diddy to continue to foot the freight of their life. So, I mean, and I you know, I think that the abuse came into it because Diddy's just that type of nigga. You see what I'm saying? I think Diddy's just that type of nigga where he, you know, had a father that was in the drug business, and one of the most dangerous drug enforcers in New York City when Diddy was a child. Wasn't that Frank Lucas? His dad used to be the driver or runner or somebody close to Frank Lucas, right, in New York City. So, you know, imagine the lifestyle that Diddy started to come up in. You see what I'm saying? And things that, you know, he was around, saw, you know, things like that. So Diddy took a more of a somewhat of a gorilla, you know, stepping on your throat type of, you know, approach when it came to life, right? So, you know, I believe that whenever, you know, Diddy's nymphomaniacs, Cassie and the Jane Does and all these women that were so willingly eager to, you know, sleep with however many men Diddy brought into the freak offs, however have you, if they gave him some type of backlash from it, or, you know, not wanting to do it manner, Diddy, you know, reverted back to what he knew his daddy, you know, was in and was around, and people in his life, and coming down through, so forth and so carrying on. You see what I'm saying? To where he would put his foot on a bitch's neck. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily think that this was just like something that it was like, oh, you know, Diddy is you know, just a violent, because so far I'm not seeing violent sex trafficker. Okay. However, I will say that, you know what I'm saying, Diddy is a monster in that sense. You see what I'm saying? To where if things don't go his way, he will try to put his foot up your ass. Okay. And unfortunately, these are things that these women were, you know, unfortunately introduced to. Diddy gave him a proposal of, you know, I will do this, I will give you this, I will make sure this is completely taken care of. You won't have to worry about anything other than being accountable for when I say you need to be accounted for to do these acts of X services, okay? Kind of like a bunny ranch type of situation, except, Diddy enforced it with, somewhat violence and coercion, as far as like, okay, so you're not going to hold up your end of the bargain. This is what I got from the testimony that I heard, or not, the audio that I heard of Diddy saying, right? I'm doing my job, which is paying your rent, taking care of you. When your rapper boyfriend 50, baby daddy 50 Cent, obviously is not, keeping your rent paid or doing whatever he's supposed to be doing, as far as, I'm seeing shit. I'm in place now. You know what I'm saying? Where where 50 Cent should have been, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? However, all I do know is that 50 Cent can be a little bit of a stickler when it comes to, you know what I'm saying, how he appropriates his money. If you are not somewhere appreciating and, thankful of the fact that 50 Cent is giving you the lifestyle that he is affording you to have, if you, seemingly want more and you're not doing more in the eyes of what 50 Cent, expects from you to receive more money from him as his baby mama or girlfriend or any fucking body, then he will cut you down to size, give you what is like, how am I trying to say that? Just justifiably do, according to you being his baby mama and or girlfriend or nothing else. And that'll be what that is. So I think that's why Diddy was able to get into a situationship with 50 Cent's baby mama. He saw an into window to get at 50 and he took it. So anyway, yeah. So BT Man 58 says, did anybody remember the prosecution leaking out that Diddy was renting Cassie to record execs and other big businessmen in the entertainment industry? It's funny how we haven't heard any such thing during this trial. I was saying that same thing too, BT Man 58. Like, okay, so we heard a lot of shit before Diddy even got arrested. Like, he was gay, sleeping with a whole bunch of men and all this stuff. Oh, this is what I wanted to get into, y'all. I heard Ray J enter the group chat. I heard Ray J entered the group chat with Diddy's trial, y'all. Now, remember, I had done some commentating on Ray J when we were watching the TMZ stuff, because Ray J did a lot of interviews with TMZ on the Diddy documentaries that TMZ have done. Y'all can find that on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. I have always believed that Ray J had, some intertwinings with Diddy, freak offishly. So let me see what he didn't enter the group chat saying, y'all. They say Ray J was mentioned briefly at the Diddy trial. Let's see.
Order. Come to order. Ray J has been brought up at the Diddy trial. And it's not just incidental. There's been a lot of fake news swirling about with the Diddy trial. And I've had to make several videos about it because it aggravates me. The thing with the Wendy Williams, fake. Kanye West, fake. Prince, private performance, fake. All fake. Something that wasn't reported on at all was real, and it has to do with Ray J. Okay, the way I found out about this was make it make sense, because he's been inside the courtroom. I am live on That Surprise Witness every day, pretty much Monday through Friday, for the past several weeks. And except Memorial Day. Actually, no, there was a Friday and a Monday off. most days I am live about the Diddy trial. I'm covering the Diddy trial. It's not televised, it's not live streamed. So you have to just read from all these different news sources in real time and try to kind of piece together. And sometimes they disagree with each other. Sometimes one will have a detail the other one don't have. And then together you can kind of get the outline of a situation that maybe might be going on in court. It is the funnest thing to me. Yes, funnest. To hear what people are doing all day while I'm live. They're like, I've been babysitting. Oh, I've been home with my kids sick. My favorite one still so far is this guy, I don't know, guy. He said he lays tiles. He's a tile layer. I'm like, yeah. So I get into like describing what I'm doing because I just imagine my voice is booming across like somebody's like construction site. Somebody's like flipping a house or something, and it's just me talking about Diddy, reading it from like news sources. None of them told us about Ray J. I didn't
Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing. Keep your teacups filled and ready for my next upload. Until then, stay inspired and remember, always stay sifted.